So there are a few different ways that you can change your life. You can change your environment, you can change the people around you, you can change the things and places that you're in, or you can change what you do every day. You can eat healthier, you can read more, or door number 3, you can change your brain. You can strengthen the parts of your brain that you want to be a little bit stronger. In this video, I want to focus on option number 3, changing your brain to change your life. I want to talk about the types of things that you can do to actually change your brain. Welcome to the Grow with Intention podcast, the podcast for people who want to create a life that feels good. In this particular episode, we are talking about mental training. And as part of that, I have to talk about a topic that has been talked to death. Don't turn off this podcast just because I mention it. Meditation. I frame meditation as a kind of mental training. Different types of meditation help you to practice different mental moves over and over again. And just like how if you use the same muscles over and over again, they get stronger, when you use the same pathways and parts of your brain over and over again, they get stronger. And don't just take my word for it. According to Tanya Singer, a social neuroscientist and also one of the lead researchers on one of the most thorough studies when it comes to meditation, she insists that courses of meditation should be more targeted for specific outcomes, in the same way that exercise programs might be targeted towards specific physical weaknesses. In her words, asking what does meditation do for your brain is sort of like asking a sport expert, what does sport do to your body? The expert would say, well, do you mean swimming, or do you mean horse riding, or do you mean lifting weights? All those things are going to do really different things to your body. Mental training is just as complex. So Tanya was actually the lead researcher of a study that involved 332 participants over 9 months. The participants showed really different results according to what mental training they were assigned. Some of the participants practiced presence-based mental training, which is just like your typical meditation of refocusing back on the breath whenever you notice a thought. They also did body scan style meditations that you've probably done before. The fMRI scans showed that strengthened the parts of their brains that were focused on things like focus and attention. Other people practice compassion style meditations. So loving kindness, which is basically just sending love out to other people, sending love to yourself. They also practiced deep listening skills for compassion building. Those people, on the other hand, showed increased activity in areas of the brain that were related to empathy as well as emotional regulation, like the insular or the anterior cingulate cortex. So after they had completed this mental training for 9 months, they were less distressed by other people's distress. This form of mental training actually helped them to not get overwhelmed by other people's emotions, so they were better able to handle other people's distress without getting swept up in that distress themselves. Another group engaged in perspective-based mental training. This is more like observing your thoughts without strongly reacting to them, and also exploring different situations from different perspectives. The brain areas involved in understanding other people's perspectives were strengthened. The point is that each form of mental training provided concrete objective evidence through fMRI scans, other testing, as well as self-reports, that mental training can lead to targeted changes in your brain. For those of you that are listening and are like, well, look, you're not going to get me to meditate for 10 to 20 minutes a day. It's simply not going to happen. Maybe you don't have the sustained attention to be able to do that. Maybe it just sounds boring to you. Practicing mental moves doesn't have to be something that you sit down and dedicate time towards, because it's not like playing the piano. You can practice mental moves any time of day. And the other thing I would say is that it takes a lot less willpower to practice mental moves as practicing some kind of physical habit like playing the piano or exercising. For example, lately I've been doing a daily loving kindness practice, but it hasn't been me sitting down for 20 minutes sending love out to people. It's been me walking up to the beautiful girls at my coffee shop and sending love to them, sending them ease, sending them peace, just like you would in a loving kindness practice. I send ease to my partner throughout the day. I send ease to random people that I think of throughout the day. Similarly, you don't need a 20-minute attention training. Just whenever throughout the day you notice yourself mind wandering, you notice you're ruminating, you can bring your attention back to the present or bring your attention back to the breath, whatever works for you best. That is attention training, just in shorter bursts. Every time you do that, that is a rep. If someone lifted weights 20 times a day, but that lifting was spread throughout the day, that's still weight training. They are still getting their reps in. So to put this podcast episode into action, firstly, think about what parts of your brain feel weak. Maybe you want to target the emotional regulation parts of your brain with a little loving kindness. Maybe you know that you need to build up your focus and attention skills with presence-based meditation. Then your second step is to get clear on what mental move you need to start integrating into your day to strengthen those pathways in your brain. Is it sending love out to others? Is it attention training, bringing your attention back to the breath? Is it noticing your thoughts without strongly reacting to them? You might need to do a bit of research depending on where you feel you need work, but there is going to be a mental move move that you will be able to practice over and over again that has been shown to help with whatever it is that you are struggling with. Then find the smallest possible way that you can practice and put in a rep throughout your day. Like I said, mental moves tend to be a lot easier. Even if you're someone who's like, well, I don't really do consistent habits, that's not really me. You already have consistent mental moves that you are practicing probably hundreds of times a day without knowing it. Maybe the mental move of rumination. It could be a very negative mental move. Don't mean to bring you down, but just keep that in mind. If you keep on practicing those same mental moves, you are only going to get better at those mental moves. What you do, you get better at. And mental habits really are some of the easier habits to stay more consistent with, and they can lead to better physical habits too. They're very low cost and high reward, so they are easier to keep on repeating from my experience. At the end of every podcast episode, I like to share Recs of the Week for people who want to dive a little bit deeper on the podcast episode today. Firstly, we've got the Greater Good Berkeley article, What Type of Meditation is Best for You? So if you're particularly interested in the study that I talked about in this podcast episode, give that article a read. It goes a lot more in depth than I did in this app. For me, I really found that when I started reframing meditation as a form of mental training that could be targeted, it appealed to me a lot more. And I know some people who are really spiritual and into meditation will be like, blasphemy. But different people are different. And knowing my why behind meditating was a little bit stronger than meditation is just good for you. The second rec is a book called Altered Traits. I haven't read this in a few years, but I know that when I did read it, it was what made me go like, oh, meditation is worth my time. If you're a big why girl, you're like, yes, I really need to understand why I do what I do. Otherwise, I simply will not do it. Read the book Altered Traits. It's really good. I'll have it linked down in the show notes, or if you're on YouTube, down in the description. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.